All right, so today we are back from a GT over this weekend, and we have a tournament summary for you with the one, the only, the Awakened Dynasty. And I gotta say, the Warriors are back. All right, at least for right now, I am a Warrior believer. I think we learned a lot from this GT over the weekend. Had a fantastic time with the team. One of our fellow teammates, Tom, went undefeated, 5-0. Super proud of you, buddy. Guy I play against like all the time, just down the street from me. So very well done. Yeah, overall, I mean, the team did great. One of our other buddies got best overall. And man, it was just a great showing this weekend. Great competitive play. I feel very spoiled to live in the area that I do and just having access to these type of players around me to get better and just share my learnings onto you. Because at the end of the day, if one of us gets better, we all get better. So if you're wondering how Necrons match up in the meta, you're going to want to stick around because I'm going to give you a lot of good insight and lessons that I learned from this tournament. And hopefully there's a couple things when I sprinkle them throughout the video that you can take away and apply to your games moving forward, or maybe you got a tournament coming up next weekend. So in front of me here, I have my list that I took to the tournament this past weekend. There were things that I really loved about the list, and there were some things that I really did not like about the list. And we are going to go over that today. So screenshot it, take a look at it, and let's move over to game one, shall we? So we're not going to have like a ton of pictures here, but I took enough to kind of give you a general consensus of the game. And again, I'm not going to go through each one of these in like super great detail. I want to just pack this with a ton of value and just kind of go over the main takeaways from the match and things that were going through my head at the beginning of the match, during the match, and the end, and overall just lessons learned. So played against Brennan round one. Great guy. I've never played him before. First time meeting this gentleman, and man, it was just a great game. Just what you want from a competitive game, just good mutual respect back and forth. And at the end of the day, just wanting the best game for both of us, and whoever comes out on top comes out on top. This tournament was hosted by Johnny Straight Silver Gaming. Not even sponsored, just straight plug, man, because you just did a fantastic job. Great prize support, so well organized. He even prints his own terrain as well. So yeah, check him out. It was just a very well run tournament here in the Portland area, and can't say enough good things. So moving on to game one, we have Scorched Earth, Search and Destroy, and Layout 3, which is kind of interesting. Probably haven't played Layout 3 too much on this deployment, and that's probably the biggest thing that we are going to talk about here. So with the Tyranid list, he's running Invasion Fleet, so he can pick whether he wants sustained on infantry or lethals on vehicles. So yeah, you guessed it, he's picking sustained on infantry because yeah, you can see there's so many vehicles in my list, right? And the biggest thing that I'm thinking about in this game is that he is running triple Lictor, double Broodlord. He's got these two big blocks of Gene Stealers right here, which I know if he gets first turn, he is wanting to just gun after the Catacomb Command Barge and the Reanimator and try to get rid of some of those synergies. So the only way that I can prevent him from doing that from a deployment perspective is kind of creating this Wraith Wall with Xeris to prevent, if he goes first, just potentially just blitzing my lines and just causing me all sorts of problems turn one. So it created an issue because the lines are just brutal on this map. I mean, he has enough to, with the Hive Tyrant here, to do like an advance and shoot down this firing lane. He could potentially advance and shoot down this firing lane. And so you don't have a lot of wiggle room to be able to put a Reanimator and a Barge back here without getting line of sight. And I think that was the really difficult thing for me on this game, was with this layout on this deployment. It didn't allow me to put the damage pieces in a place where after he connects potentially with the Warriors or the Race, they can be in a good position to clap back. So I had to, the Warriors I already wanted stage behind here. That wasn't really the problem. It was mainly the Barge and some of these Scorpec Destroyers. I couldn't really get them in a good place turn two to be out of line of sight, and that's just kind of on me. And I think the other big thing in the deployment was I should have just I had the Scorpec Lord with the 4 at Feel No Pain in reserve. And I think in hindsight, that was also a big mistake on my part, just because when you're thinking about Tyranids, they have really good board control. And so a lot of times, yes, if the Scorpec Lord comes in off an ingress threat, it's super strong, but at the same time against Tyranids, you're probably not going to get him in the most ideal spot because they have a lot of good board control early. So it put me in a position where I had the Scorpic Lord for Feel No Pain reserve, and long story short, as you see the game unfold, he's not going to be able to really get to his ideal targets and was really underutilized in this matchup where basically where this Locust Destroyer was, there should have been a Scorpic Lord there. And that was a big mistake on my part in this game as well, unfortunately. So, and no discredit to Brent. I mean, he played this extremely well. But those are the biggest things, at least for me, in deployment and just lessons there. And you're going to see this game kind of unfold here. So I won't go super in depth as far as like secondaries here, but we do end up getting first turn. And essentially, we're pushing towards the center. And this was like the first thing that I felt a mistake in my list is, I should have kept the flayed ones in, guys. I get it. I wanted to experiment without the flayed ones, but the flayed ones they're just too good. They serve too many purposes. And I felt this right here, and I just want to point this out. Turn 1, if I would have had the flayed ones, obviously they would have been staged up right here. I get area denial first turn, and because I don't have the flayed ones, what do I have to do? I have to put Xeris here to compromise for area denial, and he's way too far forward. I'm just giving him essentially like a free resource up front, and that is just, you don't want to do that. You just don't want to do that. So was really missing the flayed ones turn 1 where I could have just literally put them on the objective, a free 5 points. He goes after him, kills him, and I don't even have to put Xeris in harm's way. So we move up the race here on the objective. I wasn't really concerned about getting too many race on there. The biggest thing, I'm just trying to hide the Technomancer back here the best I can. Again, he's got Lictors. He's got Broodlords everywhere. There's just precision everywhere. I mean, it is an awakened nightmare, just to say the least. But you're trying to do the best you can in terms of hiding for, like if he wants to do like an epic challenge, and just trying to prevent any sort of precision. But there's just Lictors everywhere. So there's only so much I could do. So then going into his first turn, so we get 5 area denial. We're going to pass it over to him. And more or less, we're just going to fast forward and just kind of get to see how the game unfolds here. And let's see here. We're going to fast forward basically to this part. So this is kind of like mid-game. And basically what we're just trying to do is, I'm trying to hold my primary on the center with the Warriors, which were just super clutch this game. But I just really could not hold this objective, save the life of me. And it was just really just being annoying over on this side of the table to just keep him at bay. The Lictors, and this is where I was really feeling the Scorpec Lord, because had the Scorpec Lord been here, I would have been able to clean up these resources a little bit faster that were calling me problems, especially the Lictor, where it would have helped save the Technomancer. Would have had to commit something else or get a Broodlord over there to try to take it out. But with the Technomancer going down, I think it was like bottom of 2, or maybe it was bottom of 3. And then the Warriors, or the race, just not having a Feel No Pain the rest of the game was rough. They still held up for a while, but at the end of the day, he has enough OC, he's going to dominate the point, and it is what it is. So, and then, yeah, you can see this. I mean, Necrons we're just getting swarmed everywhere, man. Look at what's happening, man. We're just Tyranids, man. They're everywhere. So, going towards the end of the game, you can see here we were holding these points. I mean, we still scored really well on primary. I mean, like a loss was 79. I mean, nothing to complain about. And then just, bottom of turn scoring, got me with the triple recover assets. And that was pretty much the game. And, I mean, the Warriors were definitely, I think, the MVPs, though. You're going to see the theme of this tournament. Like, a lot of armies just did not have an answer for these Warriors. If you position them well, if you limit the surface area, if you pull correctly, they just cause a lot of problems for your opponent. And again, you can see here, like, I just mentally hated this so much. Like, he did such a good job. Brent, if you're watching, man, God, what a great game. But Like, it was just brutal because I could not get this command barge up here without being of line of sight of just anything. It was tough, and I just couldn't bank on like putting it here and not going first, and then him just one-shotting it the first turn. So it was tough. It was tough. We tried definitely some really good lessons in this game of what I could do against this matchup, and we don't have any Tyranid players on our team either. So I haven't gotten like a ton of reps against. I've played them a couple times over 10th edition, but it's always good to play against armies you haven't played against, a lot. So again, great game. Tip my hats to Brennan, and let's move on to round 2 here. So round 2. We are playing against the Bridgehead Strike Force, baby. All right, Astra Militarum, and another great match here. And I think I took my first picture. This was after turn 1, but just to speak on this game really quick. So fantastic game against this gentleman. And so Bridgehead, the biggest thing with them is, I mean, more or less they're an up-down army. They're going to be coming down 6 inches. They have a lot of units that can drop down that are extremely efficient on damage, high volume, and you really have to focus on in this matchup good board control, limiting where they can go and limiting their secondary as best you can, and really hold that primary as best you can. Now, going into this match, it helps that one of my good teammates, Tom, he plays a lot of guard, and I've played this matchup a couple times and kind of know roughly how to handle it and know what their damage potential is. And I kind of knew before the game that I didn't think he had really a good answer for the Warriors or the race. So I ended up going first on Purge the Foe. And what's interesting about this list is that I can, with Purge the Foe specifically, because I do have 2 durable bricks that are a lot of OC, because essentially we're creating this triangle here where we have the command barge and potentially a reanimator in this pocket that are safe from any sort of line of sight, and they synergize with everything right here because you're creating this triangle, right? So essentially I'm forcing him his hand turn 1 where I'm like, hey, I'm going to put 9, 12 OC on this objective. I'm going to put 20 OC on the center. What do you want to do about it? All right. And we get sabotage, recover assets turn 1, so pretty easy secondaries, and we pass it over to him. And the biggest thing with this is that it also limits what he can kill, because he can only go after the race and the warriors, knowing that he can't kill those resources, most likely turn 1. It's going to line up me to get a lot of kills going into round 2. So knowing there's a lot of OC on there, he doesn't want me to get a lot of points. He is committing a lot of resources early, which I don't know if that was necessarily the best game plan, but I do understand that it's like, you do have to get something off the table. And from this picture, as you can see, turn 1, this is before, like, I think even my reanimation, like, through all of that shooting and then the reanimation, I lost a couple race and I lost a couple warriors. Like, you synergize things correctly, the durability is just insane. Against certain detachments, I will say, we will go on later in this tournament that it's definitely, there's definitely ways to beat this for sure. It definitely has some bad matchups, but against Bridgehead, it felt really good. So he committed a lot of resources early. He did leap his assassin over here, which is a really good play. It was like behind this wall, and then he charges the Scorpec Lord turn 1. And so it opens up myself to, you don't see it here, but the race are going to heroic intervene here, because he does end up killing the Scorpec Lord, but then the race off the heroic intervene kill the assassin. So we end up both getting a kill on turn 1, which is why you see the 4 points there. Okay. So then going into turn 2, it was pretty rough. You can see pretty much, because there wasn't really much taken off the table as far as resources on my part, I just essentially just shoved everything forward. And then it was kind of the point of no return after that. And you can see throughout the game here, we just kept pushing forward. He had one last on bottom of turn 2 to bring out these resources, but we're pushing the board control so far back. He can put these guys here, I knew that, but he's just shooting at the warriors, which I don't mind. And you can see here as the game unfolds, the Warriors are just essentially just taking over the table. We have the race in the backfield is what I really like to play, as far as you have the Wraith Wall up here that just keeps moving upfield, and you keep a Scorpec Lord back here. And a lot of times you have enough screening pieces where they can't interact with this area here. And if they do want to shoot the Scorpec somehow with indirect or some like anti-tank, you just spend a CP and bring them back, and then you still hold the point. So moving forward here, you can see towards the end of the game, and that was pretty much the game. And we finished at 96-48. So doing ads to that game, yeah, overall, I mean, it felt good, at least against Bridgehead. And then moving over to game 3, we got Mr. Brew on the Auxiliary Cadre, and we have played multiple times over the year, and always a pleasure playing this, man. If you're watching, man, appreciate you. And this is just a great match, and some really, really good play on his part. And you know, it was just a great, honestly, just a great competitive, like all day. I mean, this is the best part about this tournament, this area. Like everybody is just like extremely good, and they just respect the hell out of the game, where there's just never been any gotchas. Like, people are even transparent about, hey, like, Heroic intervenes, like, hey, if you want to move here, like Overwatch, like, it's just such a great environment. I can't say enough good things. But going into game 3 here, we have a deployment, and we have Burden of Trust, Hidden Supplies, and Tipping Point. Okay, so on this match again, remember Burden. Everybody always gets confused. Burden, the person going first gets a extra turn of guarding, or they get an extra turn to score points. So on this mission specifically, it's interesting because the player going first can score a little bit more points, but also the player going second has a little bit of an edge in terms of bottom of turn scoring and holding objectives. So it's pretty cool in that regard. And I think with Hidden Supplies, you know, it's kind of nice as well having that extra objective, and it's just a very high scoring match. And then I believe the secondary or the mission rule was swift action, I believe, on this one. So Battle Line can advance and do actions, not shoot and do actions, but advance. So similar game plan here, Auxiliary Cadre. So not exactly like Bridgehead, but they are, well, not like Bridgehead at all, but with Auxiliary Cadre, they have a lot in terms of good, like, OC denial. They do have the up-down with Vespids, which are really good, and then still have, like, a lot of anti-tank shooting. But I think in this matchup, what I was really looking at was I didn't think that he had a good answer for the Warriors, and I didn't think he had really the best answer for the race. And so we more or less are going to stick with the similar game plan if we're going to essentially just yeet the race and the Warriors up on these objectives. We're going to form our triangle, put a ton of OC on there, and then just force and see what you want to do, what he wants to do about it. So as you're going to see here, he is going to get first turn, and he moves up these assets here. And then so going into my turn, we're basically, this was the first glaring mistake that I wanted to help him out with after the game, where this unit is extremely effective and where they were placed was really good, but just do not put them on the points. Because he did luck out in this regard because I didn't draw Storm Hostile or Overwhelming Force. The other thing is there's a character in this unit. So by this unit being up here, especially first turn, there's a lot of secondaries like No Prisoners, Assassination, Overwhelming, Storm Hostile that are usually dud pulls on the first turn. But with this unit specifically, like in some cases, yeah, if they draw Assassination, like you can live with that. Like you know, my game plan as far as in my list, if I put Xeris up turn 1, I live with the Assassinate, right? Drukhari, like Beast Packs turn 1, you know, they live if they pull Assassinate. But you know, if your opponent pulls like Assassinate and Storm Hostile, like this unit just gave them a free 9 points where they might have not scored that otherwise. Same thing with like Overwhelming Force and Storm, because there's a character attached to that unit, it's also giving up 9 points because they count as 2 units. So just something I pointed out to him at the end of the game. I think I love the play of the unit. I think like 1,000% should be in the list, but just I think the simple change is just keeping them off the objective. But in this case, it didn't matter because I didn't draw those cards. But so more or less, we are clearing this unit out first turn. I cleared out just enough just to keep this character here because it's like a free assassination kill. I mean, ideally, I wanted to just like take out the unit because I don't want him to just draw like behind enemy lines the next turn and just like get him out there. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. But we are going to stage up. And like we said, just put a ton of OC on these objectives and then just see what he wants to do about it. And that was basically the story of the game. I mean, he just, you know, fires everything into the race for 2 full turns and finally got him down. And that was just a story to the game where you could see here, like I didn't score strong on my primary in turn 2. But in turn 3, 4, and 5, I mean, we're just running away with it because your opponent has to commit so many resources to getting the race off the table that the Warriors can just flood the board after that and Xeris and then just kind of pick off what they need to. And there was another big play that I wish I would have gotten a picture of, but he did have these Vespids that he put right here. I think in turn 3, just to provide like a screening threat or keeping me from rapid ingressing in a Scorpec Lord, which is a really good play. But there was just one slight mistake that he made where we did ingress in a Scorpec Lord with the Feel No Pain right here, right? And essentially what I'm thinking about is I'm always thinking about, again, how am I going to deny my opponent primary going into the turn? And I know that he has 4 OC on here. And unfortunately, Drew left too big of a gap between these units here where these Scorpecs, between these Scorpecs moving up and the Scorpec Lord, basically what happens is these Scorpecs move up and then I don't shoot at the Vespids at all. I think I talked about this in a previous battle report. Sometimes you use these units that they place to get you farther forward and see those like little opportunities. And you know, once you get more reps, it's easier to see these things on the board. I mean, it's harder for a newer player getting into the game to kind of visually see this, but as you get more reps, I promise you, like it'll be something that's easier to see. But essentially, what happens is when the Scorpecs charge, there's a far enough gap in these where the Scorpecs can connect here. They can connect here. Let me zoom in here because this is pretty technical. So they can connect here. And here and here instead of here, right? And so just that slight mistake, essentially what it allows is for them to clean up the unit and then pile in or consolidate on the objective. And so basically that's exactly what happened is the Scorpec Lord and the Scorpecs came here, they cleaned up the unit, and then they consolidated on the objective, and then we denied the point. Those are a couple of glaring things, and then we finish up the game 99-73 to the Crons. So felt good. Went into the game the day 2-1. Had 2 rounds on Sunday, and we are scoring a lot of points. I mean, this list definitely can score some points. So we're gonna go into round 3, which was against Shane, the man, the myth, the legend, the fellow teammate himself. He was joking around the whole tournament where he was like, dude, I do not want to go. I do not want to go into your list, man. He put it out there, man. He put it out there in the universe. And then we got matched up round 4, since we were both 2-1, and, he's playing Admech, the new detachment. So, you know, he's got basically before the game even starts headspace. This is, what was this? This was Lichpin. And this was layout 8 on Hammer and Anvil deployment. All right. So biggest thing in this game is I think I can potentially play a better primary game than Admech. And I know he doesn't also have an answer, I think, to get rid of the Warriors. I think he has somewhat of an answer to get rid of the race. But again, I don't think he has an answer to get rid of these Warriors. So knowing that up front, I'm going to, again, play them pretty aggressive. And you can see here that I get first turn. and we are just going to push the race up behind the wall, and we are going to push the warriors up. And you can see here, this is literally like 6, 12, 18, like 24 or 27 OC on this objective turn 1, because they're next. We string out the warriors here to be within 6 inches of the, I think there's like a warrior strung out over here or something. Or I think this is before like I shifted them back. But the so basically the Catacomb Command Barge is triangling between the warriors and the race, and then we essentially just pass it over to him. And the story of the game was I'm basically just trying to screen my backfield, limiting his secondaries the best I can as far as behind enemy lines, everything else. And it was just a story of he'd have to commit a lot of resources. He'd try to go after the warriors would hold, and then between multiple reanimations between different phases, it allows you to daisy chain the warriors, as long as you sequence it correctly, back onto the objective. And that's exactly what happened here, unfortunately. So killed enough of the warriors, but they're daisy chaining, and then we get back on the objective, and there's 9 OC on there, and we hold the point. So we end up getting a 13 on primary, and that was more or less the story of the game. We were just this was a stalemate right here, because if I leave this objective, potentially he has ways to go and deny it, and I want to just anchor down my primary, especially because I was going first, and just trying to kill as many resources as I could, as fast as I could, because he's going to have bottom of turn scoring. So the more that I can get off the table, the better spot it puts me in where he can't score a lot on the last turn. So going in here, fast forwarding, this Calidus Assassin this whole game was just a Chad. Oh my gosh. Like it was just it took me 2 or 3 full turns to try to get this Calidus Assassin. Like you just see me chasing it all around. The Calidus ended up being over here, and just kept chasing it down. And this was basically the board state. I think the top of 4, and you can see here again, the warriors are just holding strong. Tons of OC. We send out the Scorpec Lord, which is like a minor. There's a couple minor errors here on my part, positioning wise. Just go tag this transport, tie it up, and we're just essentially pushing this line of scrimmage back. And then Xeris and the Scorpex are just kind of roaming free, because he had to commit so much to try to get rid of the warriors. It allows like the other assets to just kind of freely roam around the board and just go do their thing. And that was pretty much the game. And you could see here, this was the last kind of effort for the warriors here, and they still just, at the end of this game, still just held strong even against Admech. So it was good to see. Shane, I think, played it really well. I think it was just not a good I don't want to say it's not a bad matchup, but I think playing it like a little bit differently, and I know he was saying he hasn't had a lot of practice on layout 8, so I think if we match this up again, I think the game would definitely be a lot closer. I think he learned like a lot of things on this match on like how to handle it. But overall, man, great freaking game. And yeah, so moving on to the final match of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we got the man, the myth, the legend. It is Ryan, y'all, with his Death Guard. All right, now Ryan is real good. All right, I think don't quote me on this. I don't know if he's watching, but if you are, man, just great freaking game. And he's like top 20 Death Guard player in the world or something crazy. He's really good. Last time we played was an RTT last year, back when Star Shatter was like really good. We were like in the final table, and I barely edged out that game against him. And it was also when like Hypercrypt was like really good. Like I think 3 weeks later after that tournament, my list went up like 280 points. So does it really count as a win? I don't know. But we know he's looking for some vengeance. All right, he's looking to even up this match 1-1, and that is exactly what he did. Okay, so I think this list met its match against Death Guard. Now, a couple things that I want to highlight here. So what's interesting about this matchup is we both kind of have a similar game plan where we both want to park our durable things on points and just say, what are you going to do about it? And the thing is that Death Guard does a lot more damage than my army does, but I would argue, more durability. So it was interesting in terms of my strengths in this matchup was I have a lot of OC and I have more movement. His advantages were he has just like shooting wise, damage wise, just way more punch, way more killing power, and also still really good durability. And so for myself, I did not put myself in a position to really capitalize on those strengths in this matchup. And Ryan really exposed that and played this really well. So it's Taken Hold, Crucible of Battle, and the Raised Banners was the mission role. So first thing was the deployment. I screwed up a little bit here where I should have had the command barge like right over here, just so it gave me the option to essentially turn one. I wanted to move up the race like behind this wall, park the reanimator right here so it's safe, and then it gives me the option to swing the catacomb command barge over this way. So then again, I can kind of create this OC3 triangle, and we have a nice little pocket for the reanimator and the catacomb command barge to stay safe out of shooting, because if you haven't played Death Guard, they still shoot really, really hard. So going into the match, this is essentially what the first turn looks like, and this is what I'm going to highlight here. I drew Containment and Recover Assets, which was a great first turn pull for me. We just contain with the Reanimator, we contain with the Locust Destroyer back there, and then we recover, I think it was like with the Command Barge. Who did I recover with? I can't remember. It was somebody back there. And then like the Ophidians like in the back. Oh, I think it was one of these units back here. And we passed it over to him. Now, the first mistake, this is also where I felt like I wish I would have had the flayed ones, because I didn't have a good answer for his cultists round one. So you can see here, and I took more pictures of this match because I knew this was just going to be a good freaking Warhammer match. So he's moving up his cultists here, as expected. They're OC, they're cheap bodies, like they're annoying. I have to get rid of them. And the problem is that Ryan's a good player, and as you can see here, he's got a Termi brick here, he's got a Termi brick here, and he's shifting up the Plague Marines over here, okay? So he's essentially setting up heroic intervene threats. He's got these measured exactly 6 inches, he's got these measured exactly 6 inches, and that's basically it. So he's like, all right, well, if you want to charge me with the race, go ahead. I'm going to heroic intervene with the Terminators, and I'm just going to clean you up. Same thing over here. You want to charge Zarison? If I don't kill you on the Overwatch, the Termies are going to definitely clean you up on the heroic intervene. So I'm feeling like I'm on the back foot a little bit here early, and this I think was the first kind of glaring mistake on my part. And Ryan pointed this out too at the end of the game, as I played Xeris a little bit too aggressive to start. There should have been no reason why he was that far forward. It should have just been, hey, I put the Warriors on the objective, force you to come out, you bring out the Plague Marines. Gives me the flexibility because on this layout that they're close enough where they can get on the point to potentially deny him. So it forces him to put a lot of Plague Marines on the point, but also it helps prevent him from getting like a max area denial on turn 1, because the Plague Marines can't charge. And so you turn that from 5 to 2 points, and then you're not also losing Xeris. So that was a big mistake on my part. And then, so going into turn 2, this is essentially the board state. So the Scorpex end up having to move up here to kill the cultists. Xeris ends up having to charge he does a really good play where he ingresses in these, the 6 Destro Terminators right here. And he sets this up beautifully where you can essentially deep strikes these in, so he can he gives him 2 options. He can heroic intervene here, or he can also heroic intervene here. So it does force the Scorpex to land in a very specific spot to make sure that they don't get clapped by the Death Shroud on the clapback. And really what it forced was the warriors not coming out to charge the Plague Marines or the Scorpec Lord to get these Plague Marines. Because if I charge both assets in, then the Death Shroud are coming in on the Heroic Intervene, and then you're like, cool. And then the other double whammy was this list does not really have a way to punch through that much 4-up invuls. Like, you hand this list 18 Terminators with 4-up invuls, I do not have the right toolkit in this list to really deal with that type of profile, unfortunately. Like, I could deal with like 1 block of Terminators, but like when you're talking about 3 blocks of 6, it's going to be rough. So Xeris gets popped, basically. Scorpex get popped that turn. The race basically are non-existent the whole game. Like, just took them completely out of the game plan. And I don't know if it was maybe like something potential. We talked about after too, where I potentially could have put the race over here, or like seeing where he put the Death Shroud Terminators, because the problem is the race are never going to win a battle against the Death Shroud Terminators. They're dead. So if there's a world where maybe I put them over here, and they go through the wall, they interact with the cultists, and then just push up field and be more annoying, because them being here, it was rough. Like, even though this is kind of, I feel like, your natural expansion, because you have this nice little pocket to hide your aura pieces, and that's more or less what I was thinking, because if I move up the race here, I don't have a safe spot to have the Reanimator, because I can't really string the race far enough back to have a Reanimator aura right here. So that was tough. So, and as you can see here, the Death Shroud, he just basically is just slowly pushing up throughout the game. We're slowly losing resources. The Warriors are still hanging on, though, despite like all the Flamer shots, the Death Shroud Terminators. Like, the Warriors are still hanging on. So if anything, that just shows like how durable this brick can freaking be, and how annoying they can be in this current meta and still score me points. And at this point, I was kind of looking at it like a teams match a little bit, as just like, hey, don't, even though like maybe things, you made some mistakes, you've got flustered, I think it's important to point out, like, still try to make it your best game. Like, try to see where you can get points, see where you can edge stuff out. Maybe turning it like into a teams game of like, how many points can I just get up on the board, right? And I felt like I did a good job of that. And, I think it really came down to, good players just exposing some mistakes. And I think for me, there's some really good lessons on this game. Definitely tip my hat to Ryan. He played it extremely well. And yeah, I think it just came back to deployment. I think you look back, I think race potentially deploy up here. You still move up the Warriors turn 1. Keep Xeris back and potentially play a Wraith game over here, or just keeping them as a threat, because he can't interact with them over there, but it's much easier for him to, like, they can hide a lot easier behind this staging wall. They can't do that really here. So yeah, some very good lessons. What a great freaking tournament. And just the last screenshot here. Let's see if I can zoom this out here. Whoop. So we finished 8th out of 40. Top Necron. There was 4 Necrons there. We had 2 Awakened, 1 Star Shatter, 1 Hypercrypt. And overall, man, what a great freaking tournament. Just a great level of play. Very happy with the way I played. I think definitely back to the drawing board a little bit on a couple tweaks to the list, but overall it felt really good. And if you all stuck around, appreciate you watching. And until the next one. Peace.